and welcome to this TipPad video tutorial on how to create a pop-up screen effect in Adobe Photoshop. Once all the images we're going to use are selected, select the space the screen will occupy with the pen tool. In this case, I wanted to keep the upper bar of the screen and the menu bar. Once the stroke is created, you can adjust the anchor points with the Direct Selection tool, which you can access in the toolbar or pressing A on your keyboard. When you have it how you want, go to the Paths panel and double-click on the path you created and give it a name, for example, Screen. Click OK, and this path is now saved to use for the rest of the project. The next step is to insert the image that's going to pop out of the smartphone, in this case, a dog. We'll include the image and lower the opacity to see where we can place it. So around here could look good. Click Enter and set the opacity back to 100%. Now, with any one of the selection tools, we'll cut out the parts that stick out of the image. I personally prefer the Quick Selection tool. Once we have our selection, click on Select and Apply Mask. Invert the selection as we selected the background, and with the second brush, go over the dog so the background is erased and the fur is maintained as much as possible. With the third brush, we can include parts of the image that we deleted by accident. Once this part is done, we'll go to the Output settings and in Send, we'll select Layer Mask. Now we can clean up the rest of the image. We can also select the screen from the path we already created to make our work easier. Again, invert the selection. Once our image is inserted, we can see that the separation between the image and the screen isn't very realistic. This is because the screens of these types of devices don't light up the same all over, so we need to make the edges darker, making a kind of vignette. To do this, we'll use the path we had saved. Create a new layer and adjust the properties of the brush tool so we get a realistic effect. When you think it's adjusted correctly, click on Stroke Path. The stroke will be applied to the path according to the properties of the brush we configured, but the effect will also be transferred outside of the screen. With the path still selected, click on Convert Path to Selection and create a layer mask on top of the shadow layer. Don't forget to name your layers. Now we'll clean up the areas of the dog that stick out of the smartphone. Adjust the brightness and the contrast, and also the intensity a little. Now, to give it a bit more realism, we'll create a shadow under the dog's leg. If we click on the layer mask while pressing Ctrl, we create a selection of everything the mask leaves visible. Create a new layer and paint with a brush in black. Don't worry if you see the brush stroke. You just need to lower the layer, apply a Gaussian blur, and adjust the mask and the opacity to how I want my shadow to look. To finish up, remember how important it is to name your layers and keep your workspace tidy, especially in more complex projects or when working with masks. Now, you just need to make some small adjustments to the colour, but basically with this, our image is finished. I hope you enjoyed this TipPad tutorial and you found it useful. I'll see you next time. Bye!